A-levels and how they've been screwing up. Be talking about some sort of just general COVID news, economic news, and then in the second half we'll be talking about some book reviews updates. I've been thinking of making it a big deal, and also snobbery, my feelings, and why you should be angry, just as angry at it as I am. Catch you all again soon.
Online, on the iOS and Android, on your mobile phones. Bridge Speakers conversation around the globe. This is Relaks Radio.
It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relaks Radio. Tune in to Relaks Radio.
Relaks Radio.
Good morning, listeners. My name is George Shaft, and you are listening to George's Breakfast Buffet. As I said, my name is George Shaft, and the time right now is, of course, 9 o'clock, which would normally signify the second half, but I've kind of realised that I'll tell you what, doing this during, from 9 to 11, way more convenient. Joining me in the studio today is some lo-fi music, which should not be here because I was just sitting here thinking, I'd put in some nice relaxing lo-fi, chill out a bit, get myself in the zone, in the mood, if you will. However, then immediately my blood boiled up all over again when I looked at the news and I saw this little story here in The Independent. A-levels. Pressure grows on Gavin Williamson to U-turn on grading system as government urged to consider GCSE results delay. Oh boy. This is one of those weeks, right? Row over A-levels could escalate further on Thursday as millions of teenagers receive their GCSE grades. Alright? Ministers are being urged to reconsider postponing a publication of GCSE results this week as Gavin Williamson faces pressure to abandon the heavily criticised A-level grading system. It comes as discontent grows in Tory ranks at the exam regulator, with the chair of the Education Select Committee hitting out at the unacceptable decision to drop guidance for appeals, just hours after it was published in the weekend. Right. Yeah. Oh. That's bad. The fiasco over A-levels could escalate further as millions of teenagers receive their GCSE grades. There are fears a similar algorithm that resulted in students being downgraded last week could be even more severe with Year 11 students. Lord Kenneth Baker, a former Education Secretary who oversaw the launch of the qualification in the 1980s, initially raised the prospect of delaying the results as he criticised the, quote, the unfair and barely explicable downgrades last week, which helped smaller private schools. I urged the Education Secretary to instruct Ofcal not to release the GCSE results this Thursday as their algorithm is flawed, he said in a statement. Both himself and another MP, Robert Halfon, also suggested that that this should be considered, as well as a leading teachers union. So, all right, let's get down to this. So last week you might have heard that A-levels came out. Big exam, kind of important, lots and lots of students get it, do it, and the result this year was a fiasco. You see, because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19, having students be sitting in exam halls doing this test was a bit unfeasible. Risk of catching Rona and then coming back home and infecting, the members of their family. This is widely considered not a good thing. However, how do you give exam results during a year with no exams? It's a tough question. But the government decided the way they were going to do it was basically entrust an algorithm. You go, okay, algorithm. Here is some information. Here's like student results. Oh, and by the way, here's some factors. It's like their school and their sort of like their district and like their subjects. And here's like sort of the averages that we aim for. Go to town, algorithm. And then the government basically took what the algorithm said and ran with it, no questions. Teachers are outraged because they are now widely feeling like their own judgments about students' performances are not being taken into account, because they're not, and also because, and that's even more outrageous because typically, it's like, real talk. Everybody sort of talks about, especially in like self-help group books and, it's like, oh, hey, this is how look at me, how I turn my life around kind of posts. Like, most of them kind of dismiss the sort of teacher reports, the teacher kind of predictions. And it makes a great story. It's like, oh, teachers predicted I'd get a C in my A levels, but in fact I got an A. But truth be told, the vast majority of the time, teachers are actually very good at predicting what grade students are going to get within the education system. Teachers did go through teacher training for a reason. There is a reason why it's actually pretty difficult to get a teaching job without the qualification. And that's one of them. And so you've got this. And so, all right, the teachers are unhappy with the algorithm. But then the second of all is the algorithm, as I mentioned. Do you remember when I mentioned that it depends on the school? Well, that has translated to the fact that students in expensive private schools with just a very small handful of students in the top echelons of society, they actually got their grades bumped up during this A levels. Those students got better exam results than they were expected to, because the algorithm looked and went, oh yeah, well, so this teacher of this student is predicting that they're going to get a B, but on the other hand, they go to Harrow or to Eton or to Westminster, and it's like, those are pretty good schools, so we're just going to just kind of bump that up to an A level. They're going to do really well. And again, that's not entirely an accident either, by the way. I said again there, but I realised I hadn't mentioned it the first time round, so let's go for that first time round. This is the thing that's the most outrageous. It seems like the government deliberately put that in of, students who are going to certain types of schools are probably going to do better in their exam results. The algorithm should bump up their scores. There's been evidence surfacing, for example, that Dominic Cummings had some influence in the making of this algorithm, and he famously has said that parents and genetics are more important than education in predicting how a student will turn out in life. If you remember, Dominic Cummings has in the past actively tried to hire and promote eugenics supporters in the government. Though the one big time that happened back in January, there was such an enormous outrage and an enormous pushback on a national level against that the government actually backed down. But that doesn't mean that Dominic Cummings went away. Nor does it probably mean that he, just didn't hire less out and out, eugenics supporters and put them in sort of more low profile positions. That doesn't exclude, that might not be the case, but that doesn't exclude the possibility of that happening. And so is it any wonder then that when you have a government that is willing to hire people like that, with attitudes of just the complete opposite of social mobility, the complete opposite of, somebody who's born into a more disadvantaged background might be more deserving, of like rising to the top and becoming, a thought leader in society even. No. If they're in a poor background, then that clearly must mean that there's something wrong with them. Yeah, so we're just going to set up the algorithm in such a way as to be sure that it's not going to, that the status, the order of things doesn't get dealt with. It doesn't get intervened with, that's it. In fact, of course, the story's been getting so large and so messed up that we've even got this in Yahoo News. Title: Boris Johnson faces calls to intervene to end the A-level crisis. So how does that article go? Boris Johnson is under pressure to intervene to end the deepening A-levels crisis in England amidst growing anger among pupils and teachers and warnings of unrest among Tory MPs. Labour leader Keir Starmer called on the Prime Minister to take personal responsibility for fixing the issue, accusing him of having been invisible throughout the turmoil. Conservative former Education Secretary Lord Baker, meanwhile, urged ministers to delay the publication of GCSEs, the results, until the problems with A-levels were fixed. Meanwhile, Mr. Johnson had been expected to be in Scotland this week on a camping holiday, but, things have been intervening. But with Labour demanding that he hold a press conference to explain how he intends to right this historic injustice suffered by pupils who had their grades marked down, Downing Street was unable to say whether the trip would go ahead. And of course, the thing is, to make it extra sad, is, you remember when I was saying that in the Independent article, that there was a review system, but the review system was then sort of changed, and there was no guidelines put in place as to sort of how do you appeal it. And I called that on Thursday, how that was just weak sauce, and that it was just not good enough to deal with this catastrophic algorithm. Well, I'm very unhappy to report that the exact situation I predicted would happen has happened. And it's been heartbreaking to see story after story after story of talented, obviously intelligent students who, if they'd sat their A-levels in a normal year, would clearly have aced them with A's across the board. Well, the problem was they went to, they didn't go to the right school. They went to schools that were, a bit lower in the economic chain, and they're in a poor neighborhood, and most of the people who are there are of a lower sort of economic status. So the algorithm decided to play it safe and make it so those students got lower grades. And I said, it's like, yes, you're probably going to have this review system, and even if it works, though, that doesn't mean that universities haven't done their choices by then. And that's exactly what's happened. Story after story of talented, amazing, intelligent young people sitting there at their A-levels, but again, in not quite the right schools. They should have gotten A's, but the algorithm marked them down to get Bs. Sometimes even Cs in some situations. And then, before anything could happen, the university courses that they were expected to go and sit, that they were expecting to get into, turned around and have turned them down and have rejected them. And now their lives are taking a radically different path from what it was going to be. There was one story in particular that was really quite heartbreaking. Was a young girl in London, if I remember correctly. Most intelligent person you could come up with. Scoring A's across the board on everything. And she had applied to Oxford. Now, Oxford, amazing. Like, to even think that you could make it there. And then but unfortunately, the accident of her birth, of her time, meant that she was not able to sit the exam because there was a pandemic. And then an algorithm looked at her school and decided, oh, well, she can't be all that good anyway. Here's a couple Bs in your A-levels. And Oxford does not take Bs. And so, this aspiring teacher and this aspiring student was turned down from Oxford. And hey, won't that be a cold, cold solace at the end of the day when she does turn back and get an appeal, and then everything looks out and goes, oh hey, actually it turns out that you should have gotten A's in everything, like your teacher had said you would get, and how you'd always been scoring in all of your past exams. But, that's a cold solace. Maybe she'll get a spot in clearing. And on that depressing note, and on that, I'm gonna sit and seethe in my outrage for a little bit. But don't worry, I can share the sentiment in a different way, and I can do that by pressing this button that makes other people talk. I know, outrageous. You want to hear me talk. You want to hear the great George Shaft of the Breakfast Buffet talk about news and politics. And I mean, there's half of it's general knowledge, but I know. Alright, I'll catch you all again very, very soon.
Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, You get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jordan's Breakfast Buffet. Step right up, and let's listen to the next depressing news story. If you want to comment on any of these news stories, you can absolutely do so. The number is 07852 473 and 473. I will have, of course, the Facebook live stream up as per usual, and so if you comment on there, I will read your comment and I will respond either there or in the show. But let's just go straight into our story, which is a continuation of the last story. And that is this, in Yahoo, though taken from The Guardian. You see, Yahoo has this sort of thing where they pick articles from like other news sources. Anyway, the story is titled, Controversial Exams Algorithm to Set, wait for it, 97% of GCSE results. I'm left a bit speechless here. And that's a really, really shocking thing because I'm a guy who sits in a radio studio and therefore has nothing to ever, not say. But let's keep going. Nearly 5 million GCSEs will this week be awarded using a controversial model, which education experts fear could lead to even more results being downgraded than in last week's A-level fiasco. According to analysis shared with The Observer, more than 4.6 million GCSEs in England, about 97% of the total, will be assigned solely by the algorithm drawn up by the exam regulator Ofcal. Teacher rankings will be taken into consideration, but not teacher-assessed grades submitted by schools and colleges. Natalie Pereira, Executive Director of the Education Policy Institute think tank, said, "We will almost certainly see a repeat of the many problems seen with A-levels. Only with GCSEs, they could be more severe. Fewer A-levels, an estimated 82%, were calculated by the Ofcal algorithm. A larger year group, combined with the fact that GCSE grades are often harder to predict, will mean that Ofcal will place even greater emphasis on its standardization model." Continued Pereira in her explanation. "There is a real risk that even more grades will be pushed down as a result." The government, by the way, is also expected to face legal challenges over its results algorithm within days. The Observer has seen, apparently, a lawyer's letter drawn up on behalf of A-level students who were marked down 2 grades or more from the scores predicted by their teachers. Oh dear. Oh lordy lord. Does this sound like a massive scandal to you yet? Well, there we have it. It goes on even more with extraordinary things. It claims that despite the controversy about the awarded grades, this is the lawyer's letter by the way, the pupils involved are unable to use the appeals process because it is too narrowly drawn. The letter, drawn up by the Good Law Project, warns that the grades they were awarded, quote, did not reliably indicate their knowledge, skills, and understanding of the subject. There is already an appeals process, that has been announced, it was announced among a mounting rebellion among Tory MPs. Exam boards, according to the article, will be ready to process those from Monday, with pupils able to use mock exams as part of their appeal. In a further concession on Saturday, Ofcal said that pupils who had not taken a mock exam could appeal using a non-exam assessment mark. Yeah. Well, as I said though, is that good enough? The answer is obvious on that. No. No, it isn't. We've been seeing incident after incident, story after story already of young students who, had bright futures ahead, were incredibly, intelligent, obviously very good at their A levels, scoring A's across the board, yet being marked down. There was one story I was reading in particular on Saturday that's really stuck with me. There's been a whole bunch of them really. It's like a bunch of these have stuck with me. Hi, I'm George. I'm a bit of an empathetic person, but there's one in particular. There's a girl. I'm not going to say like her name because privacy reasons. But there was a girl in Manchester who wanted to be a nurse, and so she was taking biology, maths, and science. It was like a general science. I think those were her A levels. Now, her teacher in this story, talking about it, was predicting A's across the board for this student. And this was when she was saying like why she believed this, it was obvious to see why. This young girl was I say young girl, but she'd be 18. She was 18, and like your average A-level student will be 18. But I'm still gonna say young girl because since that was like 5 years ago for me, or 6 years ago for me, I can stand on the air of superiority and call them young people. Anyway, that little tangent aside, this 18-year-old girl was incredibly intelligent, very, very studious, studied incredibly hard for everything. The teacher was just amazed. It's like, yeah, she never missed a day of school. She never missed any homework. She never did worse than, phenomenally well on her exams. She's somebody, I say was, but it's like she is. She's like, this is a real person in Manchester. It's like, she is incredibly determined and has this goal of like, I want to be a nurse, so I am going to study hard for this. And yet, one slight catch. The school that she's studying in is in one of the poorer neighborhoods of Manchester. It's one of the, it's in a nationally not really all that great performing school. I mean, it's not the worst one, but it's, not the best one either. It's kind of lower middle. It was one of those kinds of schools. So the algorithm looked at that and thought, that's a bit of an unfortunate little situation you've got there. Tell you what, I see that it's like every indication is saying that you in particular should be getting an A, but you're in that school, so I don't trust those teachers, so I'll give you B's instead. She got B's across the board. Just devastating. She'd applied for some of the most prestigious medical schools in the country. I think her top choice was Manchester General, which is, it was Manchester. It was like the Manchester General sort of like school for nursing, which is one of the top medical schools in Britain. And with grades like that, it seems an obvious shoo-in, but then no. The algorithm came in, said, "Oh well, you're not in a great school, so I'm going to just grade you down." And now she's in complete limbo. Her prospect, her ideals almost shattered. And now let's remember the fact that That was A levels. Those exams are less indicative, inherently drastic and oh my goodness, this is important than GCSEs are, which determine whether you can even go in the A levels in the first place. As you can see, I am not at all happy with this story, and I'm not at all happy with the way that things have been going. Quoting again from the article, the Liberal Democrat acting leader Ed Davey. By the way, Liberal Democrats, please do your leadership election. Just do it. Have an actual leader. Anyway, but Ed Davey called for Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary, to resign. Meanwhile, Labour's Shadow Education Secretary, Kate Green, stopped short of that, and she just said that he had a few days, quote, a few days to demonstrate that he's going to do what is right. Anger also continues to mount on the Tory backbenchers, with Robert Halfon, the Tory chair of the Education Committee, saying, quote, Ofcom needs to explain with every school what's going on and how its algorithm has worked. But above all, we'd better have a robust appraisal system. That's the only way we can solve this now. We've got to make sure that this is an exam system for the many, not the few. Isn't it nice when even Conservative Party and members of Parliament are using the little Jeremy Corbyn the little motto? Yeah, legal threats are almost certain. Ofcom has confirmed that the same model that is used for the A levels will be deployed for the GCSEs, and for each subject, teachers were asked to give each pupil a grade and then place all pupils in rank order. But if the subject had, on average, more than 15 entries in a school, Ofcom decided the predicted grades would not be used, instead relying on the ranking. Research by Upreach, a social media charity, predicts that about 4.6 million grades will be awarded using the algorithm. And on that note, and on that scary little thought, here's some other people talking about more cheerful stuff. And I'll catch you all again very, very soon.
Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to George's Breakfast Buffet. My name is George Shaft, and joining me in the studio today is, of course, the live stream, the information, like all the stuff, like the fact that you can call the studio, in theory. And the studio number is, of course, 07852 473 and 473. I will repeat for those at the back. The number is 07852 473 and 473. But I am just going to plow on ahead and keep on talking because I caught a really interesting article this morning when I was just kind of, browsing for for what to do today. And I've got this from Reuters, published this morning. 31 minutes ago to be exact. It goes, British home sales hit record after lockdown, Rightmove says. Alright, well this is interesting. Britons bought and sold a record number of homes between mid-July and early August as pent-up demand from the coronavirus lockdown and a desire to leave London bucked the usual summer slowdown, industry data showed on Monday. Alright. Well, this is an interesting turn of affairs. What could be explaining this? So anyway, keep going. Property website Rightmove, which says it is used by 90% of British estate agents, reported that the highest number of home sales agreed since it began tracking the data more than 10 years ago, with transactions more than 20% higher than the previous record. Whoa. That is pretty incredible. That is pretty dang incredible. What could possibly be the explanation for that? Well, here's Rightmove's director, Miles Shipside, which, by the way, great name, I love it. Miles Shipside. Anyway, rather than just a release of existing pent-up demand due to the suspension of the housing market during lockdowns, there's an added layer of additional demand due to people's changed housing priorities after the experience of lockdown, Shipside said. He would go on to assert that he'd go on to say is that the out-of-city exodus has helped push prices to record levels in Devon and in Cornwall, for example, where working from home means a very different lifestyle, much closer to your new doorstep, said Shipside. This is backed up by all sorts of data. For example, in the article, it mentions the fact that private sector rents in inner London were 8% lower in July than they were a year ago, as a collapse in foreign tourism and corporate relocation meant that that property there, which had previously been rented out for the short term, well, they became available for more long-term tenants. But buyers had also been given an extra impetus to move by a temporary exemption from property purchase taxes for homes costing up to £500,000. This was an initiative that was announced and financed by, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak. Demands it was up across the board, and not just from homes that were benefiting from the tax break. This is pretty incredible, and also it's been something that I've been seeing happen for a couple of years now. I've been wondering sort of when there was a chance to talk about it, and this is it. I've been noticing for the past couple of years that there's been a growing movement to actually move out of London. The logic for this is manifold. One of them was the fact that, well, London is a giant metropolitan city with all that entails, including small living spaces, crowded streets, not less than clean air, and, well, not everybody wants to live like that, especially not in their twilight years, which is something that's more and more common in the UK, as the average age of a person in Britain has been steadily climbing up. I believe the average age of a person in Britain is like 46 now. I'm not going to check that up, and that's just a top of my head recall. But it is old, and by world standards. And when you have people who are getting older and looking quite fondly towards their retirement, why would they want to spend their retirement cooped up in a small apartment in London when they could get themselves a bigger house in the countryside? And then there's also the pandemic, which even the article mentions. I mean, the truth is, some people have enjoyed their lockdowns way, way more than others. I actually quite enjoyed the first lockdown for a while, simply because I moved out of my tiny London flat, back in March, and went to the place which I refer to as the hidey hole, which is actually a family house in the countryside. It's my parents' place, and it's a house as I said, it's a house in the countryside, which meant that there were lots of outdoor activities that could be really easily done. It's just as easy as hop on a bike and then just go cycle in the woods. Well, quite a lot of people in London probably went on Facebook and saw all of their friends who never left the hometown, if you will, all going, "Oh yeah, look at me, sunning myself in my big garden in the small town. Yeah, look at this wild adventure I've had climbing up some mountains. There's nobody here. This is the best ever." Yeah, it's I can see quite a few people looking at that and going, "I want that life though. I want the small town life." And this is supported even more by the fact that technology has really been trending in a direction towards letting people work no matter where. And this pandemic has massively been boosting that. Services such as Zoom or Skype, where in many ways they're kind of more specialized things before. They were Skype was often a kind of this is where you go to have connection problems and and ask your family members, "Oh, is it on?" Well, now it's very much become a case of this is actually a pretty essential basic service, and it's an essential basic service, especially when everyone has to stay at home because there's a deadly virus going around killing people. There's not much more to add to that, really, is there? You don't really need to be in the centre of London if you're going to be working from home. You can just as well be in a small village in Lancashire for that, and you're probably going to have a much more pleasant time in the process. So this is a really interesting story. And it's of course an interesting story in a huge range of situations. One, of course, is the fact that I'm wondering, how is this going to be compounded by Brexit? I think, my conclusion is it's probably going to be pretty similar, at least for London. London house prices are probably just going to fall next year with hard Brexit, because people who are going to move into London from the rest of Europe suddenly won't. And meanwhile, in the rest of England, people will see that London has been messed with and is no longer as fortunate as it was before in the grand scheme of things, and so move to other parts of the country. on the bright side, that'll mean that like all the house prices in London will probably be cheaper, which I'm not going to complain about. My rent has been pretty expensive. I'm not really not a fan of it, to be honest. I don't like how high the rents are in London, and I could definitely do with a bit of relief, a bit of the good stuff, the lowering of the prices. Of course, what's not so fun is the fact that the lowering of the prices has been in because of the pandemic. And I'm looking at the John Hopkins stuff again, which I always consult at this point because it's accurate. 21,684,000 global cases. Meanwhile, global deaths has unfortunately climbed up to a really kind of heartbreaking 775,000 deaths, with 170,000 in the United States, but now rapidly climbing to the top. Now, really, really trying to give the US a run for its money is 107,000 deaths in Brazil. Both of these countries are, by the way, also the top two in terms of cases, with the United States having just over 5 million cases, whereas Brazil is now over 3 million. Meanwhile, China is looking ever increasingly suspicious, with their number having frozen at 89,000. But hey, details. But what do you think? Do you think that maybe house prices falling in London is a good thing? Or do you think that maybe it's not? That's a bad thing. Maybe you think that this trend of people moving out of London, even though it's been a thing for the past 5 years at the very least, is not going to continue? Whichever the case, whatever your opinion, you can call the studio. When you call the studio, you can talk to me or to anyone else who might be the presenter here at Relaks Radio. Of course, you'll need to know what the number is for that, but luckily, I can tell you what that number is. And I can tell you that that number is in fact 07852 473 and 473. I will repeat it, just in case you're actually dialing it up. The number is 07852 473 and 473. However, in the meantime, there's going to be another little sort of interesting segment that we're going to have. In this interesting little segment, we get to, how do I put it? We get to listen to other people. We get to talk about all sorts of wonderful, amazing, people and stuff. Well, I won't. These people will.
Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome to George's Breakfast Buffet. My name is George Shaft and you are listening to the first half. In the first half we talk all about the news and world events and all the stuff that happens with that. By the way, just a very, very short little sort of thing. There's been a growing movement to set up it's just a little minor story for the side, but I thought it was interesting to point it out, which is the Sun newspaper has gotten into a bit of hot water. This is quoting the Liverpool Echo and its headline of Aberdeen calls for boycott of the Sun newspaper over train crash headline. People in Scotland are calling for a Liverpool-style boycott. Alright? So what happened? A very, very short, very quick story before I move on. It's this. People in Aberdeen have called for a boycott of the Sun newspaper in response to a headline from the paper's Scottish edition covering the train crash that happened last week. On Wednesday, 3 people died in a passenger train that was derailed, unfortunately, near Stonehaven, in Aberdeenshire. That had been caused by heavy rainfall that created a landslide, and then the landslide caused the train to derail, and 3 people were unfortunately killed and lost their lives. However, people in Aberdeenshire and across Scotland were pretty annoyed at the fact that the Sun's headline for the train crash was to call it the Death Express, along with a picture of the train driver who died in the incident. Since the uproar, the paper's written an apology letter, but that's still not stopped a petition that has got more than 30,000 signatures from Scotland, saying that we want a Liverpool-style ban of the newspaper. It'd be interesting to see where that goes. Not in Aberdeenshire, but I wish them to do what they. How do I put this? Who make good things happen. So, but let's move on now to a bigger little story. A big story. All right. Anyway. This is during the weekend. It's happened. I'm quoting the BBC News for this one. And it goes, Robert Trump, President's younger brother, dies in hospital. Oh, alright. President Donald Trump has paid tribute to his, quote, best friend and youngest brother following his death at the age of 71. It is with a heavy heart I share that my wonderful brother, Robert, peacefully passed away tonight, he said in a statement on Saturday. The president had visited his brother in hospital in New York the day before his death, telling reporters he's having a hard time. It is unclear what caused it, but there's been speculation that he'd been having brain bleeds. That he'd been experiencing some brain bleeds that begun after a recent fall. Robert Trump was Donald Trump's, as I mentioned, younger brother, but he was also in many ways sort of like the cooler head among the sort of like the Trump brothers. they have a sister who's herself an accomplished judge, if I remember correctly. But basically, the family dynamic was like this. Fred Trump was the oldest of the sons, but he really didn't fit the model of what Mr. Trump's father wanted. Mr. Trump's father was all about you have to be like this, a killer. You need to be like a hard, emotionless person as you stalk as a shark in the waters of business, which Freddie was really not. He was apparently sort of very kind of a sensitive man, a very sort of emotional man, and basically with all the bullying and all the humiliation, he committed suicide. Oh joys. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was the second son. We know well more than enough about Donald Trump to really be worth talking more about that. Then there were two sisters. I know of the article in here for some reason only has a picture with one of the sisters in there, but I know that there's two. But then finally, might have been. No, never mind. Oh, it's Elizabeth Trump. Sorry. No, sorry. The picture is actually of the siblings. For some reason, I thought it was the parents. No, then there was Elizabeth Trump. Then there was Marianne Trump, who are the sisters. But then Robert Trump was in the business world, kind of like the man behind the stage, whereas Donald Trump was like, I am the real estate businessman, the big head honcho. Meanwhile, Robert was kind of like the guy behind the scenes making the work actually take place. In The Art of the Deal, even Donald Trump, even said like, oh yeah, Robert Trump gets along with everybody. In fact, in this very article, in his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump wrote that, quote, Robert gets along with almost everyone, which is great for me since I sometimes have to be the bad guy. In a 2016 interview with the New York Post, meanwhile, his younger brother reciprocated by saying that he supported Donald 100% in his presidential bid. He had also recently been to court in a failed bid to stop the publication of his niece, Mary Trump's tell-all book about the president, which was titled, How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man. Mary Trump, by the way, in terms of like the dynamics, from what I've been explaining, is the daughter of Freddie Trump, the one who committed suicide. So, yeah. Anyway, with that, two shorter stories. There's not really much in the way of sort of politics to comment, except condolences to, the friends and family of Robert Trump. And, I'll be watching with interest the whole Aberdeen petition. But with those two smaller stories, we rounded out, and we are now at 10 o'clock, which means we've hit the second half. But first, before I go for the second half and dive into the world of general knowledge and more sort of my thoughts and opinions generally, let's give you guys a break. The hard-working Relax Radio listener, from time to time, needs to chill and have a good time and to relax. All right, the other people are playing right now. I'll catch you all again very, very soon.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
24 hours and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second half. My name is George Shaft, and you can listen to the second half in all sorts of wonderful places. You can listen to it now on the Relax Radio app, where you can listen to all of the amazing things that we say all the time, reliably. You can also listen to Relax Radio on a whole range of different places of video streaming services, such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. Periscope. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And one thing that I definitely really strongly feel, though, is that you should be able to listen to Relax Radio on any different website or streaming service that you want. And that the people who are going to be really snobbish about which place you listen to it on deserve all of the contempt that we can possibly muster. I've been thinking a lot over the past couple of days about snobbery. It started when I was thinking about tea, actually. You see, I make tea regularly. Not as regularly as maybe I often let on. I have to admit, over the past weekend, I actually haven't made one cup of tea. Saying that, though, has really made me want a cup of tea more than anything else in the universe. It's kind of a thing where it's like, as soon as someone mentions tea, I always want it. But when I'm on my own, I don't think of tea, so I don't make it. Anyway, when I make my tea, though, I experiment a lot, and I make lots of different varieties. And sometimes during my experiments, I'm very, very sort of particular. I'm very, very sort of, no, it has to be like this and like that. But I know that a lot of people, when they make their tea, are incredibly particular about that tea. Some of the classic things, just to show the depths in which the particularities go. There are some people who I know, like the people I genuinely sort of know in life, who will not have a tea if the kettle was left, just like sitting there after it's gone ding for more than a minute. It's just like, oh no, reboil the tea. It's like, why? The water's still incredibly hot. In fact, it's still boiling. It's still bubbling away in a lot of cases. It's like, yeah, but it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be great. It'll be tea that tastes slightly different from from like the perfection. Another one which I know is so incredibly kind of particular is a lot of people have this massive particularity that's like, no, you pour the water into the teacup before you put the milk in. And no, if you can't, and when you have like the milk in before, it just like completely ruins the tea. Well, truth be told, I've increasingly been thinking that noticing that I can't really tell that huge a difference between the tea where the milk was poured in first or where it was poured in second. Now, I know I've just spoken some massive weapons grade heresy in saying that. No, I expect to wake up tomorrow morning with like a procession of tea lovers over my bed doing an excommunication ritual. But that's the truth. It's not a giant difference to my taste palette. And nor is it a giant difference, in these sorts of areas, in the realm of science. You see, snobbery is an attitude that really falls apart very quickly, incredibly paper thin, and even the slightest bits of investigation, if you will. By the way, before I continue, I actually have got the free dictionary up for snobbery, in case, because I know that we've got listeners here that sometimes, for whom English is maybe not their first language, so, it's good to explain. Snobbery, according to the free dictionary, is the trait of condescending to those of a lower social status, or also can be defined as an overbearing pride, evidenced by a superior manner towards inferiors. There's also a third one put forward, which is a tendency to associate with only a select group. All of these, though, have the same net outcome. On a wide range of subjects, on a wide range of different practices that you can conceive of, there are lots of people who take a very elitist, perfectionist stance on it. I opened up with tea because tea is the one that, is the one I encounter the most in sort of real life. But it goes with everything. And in all of these cases, it makes me feel really annoyed. With the tea, as I mentioned, the changes in the taste. As long as you're using the same tea bag, and the hot water from the same tap, and almost always also the same brand of milk, or the same sugar, it's not a giant difference between one or the other. I could understand it a little bit more if there was if the snobbery took more of a form of, I only drink a particular type of tea. If the tea, if it had been like, I don't drink, English breakfast tea. I only drink, jasmine tea, that kind of thing. It's even, there'll be a little bit more kind of, I see where that's coming from. No, that's more of a personal taste thing. But even then, that's still why are you going to such a huge degree on it? I also mentioned earlier that snobbery, whenever you investigate it, falls apart, and it falls apart pretty quickly. The biggest one when it comes to that is in the world of wine. There's been a lot of taste tests done. Then basically what you do with the experiment is you go, okay, here are, wine tasters. Here are some, people who drink wines for a living, basically. Awesome sounding job. I've always wondered where I could apply for that. But you go, okay, wine tasters. Here's a blind taste test, though, between 3 different wines. 2 of them are cheap supermarket swill, and the third one is, some really expensive vintage. They'll find out which is which. and the the difference between like wine tasters and just like ordinary people in blind tests is none at all. It's chance, pure guesswork. And some are even very, very adamant about their choices even afterwards. When you go, yeah, you just called the cheap supermarket stuff like the best wine you've ever had. And, it's like, no, I couldn't possibly have been. You must have mixed it up with the vintage. It's like, no, we were very thorough. And ultimately, I think the main thing I want to say is the fact that there are bigger things in life. And and in many ways, people having this sort of incredible sort of like perfectionist streak on tiny differences that really don't have any big cascading impact on anything really is, it's almost a show of, I want to say inferiority, but it's not quite right. Perhaps the word I'm looking for is something more along the lines of lack of confidence, or a kind of desperate desire to fit in. Because what is the difference between driving in the 1972 Ford Mustang or driving the 1972 Ford Mustang but with that extra rev in its engine? What exactly is the difference between using the 2020 iPhone X or the 2020 iPhone XS? The differences are minuscule. And yet, there will always be, in any realm of life, people who take that as an excuse to put themselves above others, to pretend that they stand on the shoulders of giants who endorse them into having like being the chosen people who play the PCs versus the console games, who drink the best and the most expensive wines as opposed to cheap swill, who are the ones who put their milk in second over over the water. They'll be careful about those giants. Maybe they have very, very peculiar, snobbish attitudes towards which dwarves, which short people they will tolerate on their shoulders. If you're not careful, you'll be on the other end of it. Meanwhile, I wonder if these other people are snobby. But I'll make sure to be on the lookout, be very, very sternly aware, tell you immediately if they are. But I'll catch you again very, very soon.
Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us here 24 hours and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello, and hi. For just a bit of variety there, welcome to George's Breakfast Buffet. My name is George Shaft, and you are listening to George's Breakfast Buffet, of course, on Relaks Radio. I am sitting here in the studio with a number. It's a fantastic number. It's a great number. It's a number that has a special secret ability. First of all, I'll tell you what it is. The number is 07852 473 and 473. I'll repeat it. The number is 07852 473 and 473. It's got a secret, special ability that no other number has. It grants the person who uses it on a phone, no, a mobile device, to call the studio and to chat about whatever it is you like. It's a great tool. It's amazing, and I hope to see it being used more in the future. Ooh. But meanwhile, let's continue on. We are in the second half now, which means that we get to, have a wonderful time chatting about just like general knowledge and interesting information. And I think the first one to really talk about, I'm actually going to break the order I've written in my script here, because it's one I've been thinking maybe should deserve maybe 2 segments be talked about at length. And we have a little question. Where are we? Well, obviously, in my case, that answer is I'm sitting in the Relax Radio studio in the city of London, which is in England, which is in Britain, which is in Europe. And people will go, yes, but where is that? And I'll go, well, all of that is on planet Earth, which is the third planet, in the solar system. And people go, yes, okay, solar system, that's something on my map. That might be something on my map. But could you direct me more? In which case, at that point, I'm going to turn around and go, oh, hey, aliens. And if you're looking at that kind of scale, then it is time to talk then more at length about where exactly we are in the grand scheme of things. You see, this is actually something that I think there should be a lot more sort of art, if you will, and a lot more chatter about. Because I've been really thinking, like, we don't talk all that often about where exactly within the grand scheme of things our entire solar system is. We talk about the planet a lot, amazingly a lot. We talk even about the solar system quite a bit. But we don't talk beyond that solar system and how we exactly fit in the greater scheme of things. So let's do that. Let's start with the first layer up. It turns out that it is almost certain, in fact it is certain, that our solar system is actually in a nebula. Now that is an intensely fantastic thing, which, well, when I found that out, and that's actually the reason I'm doing this segment, because it turns out that we are in a nebula. If you don't know what a nebula is, by the way, you can pause the video. I recommend you go on Google. Though not Google, maybe, because, they're a bit of a monopoly. Definitely I endorse such search engines as Ecosia or DuckDuckGo. By the way, we are not sponsored by any of them. I just quite like them. And just search nebula on images. You're going to get a huge variety of these amazingly coloured, fantastic pictures of, the Horsehead Nebula with like a big horsehead thing floating in the sky. There's going to be the Pillars of Creation, iconic picture of like these 3 big gas clouds kind of towering over billions of kilometers in height of just gas. That's the Crab Nebula, which is this funky looking just mess of colors all across the vast inky darkness of interstellar space. And we're in one. We are actually in one of those. Though ours is maybe not quite so bright and colourful. The local interstellar cloud, I'm reading from Wikipedia, by the way, because it's the quickest I can find to really describe it in a lot of detail. The local interstellar cloud, which is, by the way, also known as, and this I love so much, the local fluff. It sounds like a security blanket, doesn't it? The local fluff. So it's like you get that from, I don't know, like IKEA. And it's got like, I don't know, like hearts on it. That's the feeling I get when I read local fluff. Anyway, the local fluff is an interstellar cloud roughly 30 light years across, through which the solar system is moving. It is unknown if the sun is actually embedded in the local interstellar cloud, or in the region from which the local interstellar cloud is interacting with, which is the neighboring. Also has a fantastic name, the G cloud. By the way, the local, the local bubble, the local fluff, by the way, is very interesting in the fact that there's a lot of evidence to suggest the sun actually isn't a part of the nebula. It isn't even, from us. Because you see, when you look at like all the things that are confirmed within the cloud, within the nebula, you find that they're actually going in one direction. But the sun, overall, is moving in basically completely the opposite direction, which suggests that we are not actually a part of the cloud, but we're just passing through. We're just going in. It's like, oh, excuse me. We are, we're just passing through. And in that, there are 2 really cool things I have to mention. The first of all is that there's some predicted pictures, or like, CGI pictures, like how does the local fluff look? It turns out that because the sun is, moving through it, but it's not of it, we're actually leaving a wake like a boat of particulate materials. The reason why is speculative. Either it's because of the gravity, and we suck in all these particles into the atmosphere, or an alternative theory is that there's actually kind of like a magnetic barrier around the solar system, and the sun is basically pushing away particles from us, like the prow of a boat does with the water. But alright, you might have tagged on to the fact, like, hey, wait a minute, but you said that the sun is moving. Where's it moving to? Where's it moving through? What is its destination? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because you see, I would stand here then and talk all about this Universe Today article that I have here, with the intriguing title of Where is the Sun? That goes into so much detail about that. But unfortunately, the time is 10:28, and my throat is feeling really, really parched and dry. So I'm going to let these other people cover the wheel for me while I go get a drink of water. And I'll catch you all again very, very soon. See you later.
Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
The sun, of course, as I'm sure everybody knows, sits within a galaxy. A galaxy being a gargantuan collection of stars, planets, asteroids, basically everything that we can observe in the universe, all orbiting and spiraling around one gargantuan center of the Milky Way black hole. But where is this? But where in the Milky Way are we? And what can we say about the Milky Way itself? Well, according to Universe Today, in this article titled Where is the Sun? The Milky Way galaxy is a giant, grand spiral galaxy, which astronomers think has 4 major spiral arms. These have been given the names of Perseus, Cygnus, Scotum Crux, and Sagittarius, though some astronomers debate this and argue that really it should be 2 arms, which are called Perseus and Sagittarius. Anyway, the Sun, though, within this context, is located in the inner rim of the Orion arm, which is an offshoot of the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy. The Sun is located about 26,000 light years away from the center of the galaxy. That is pretty interesting. When you look at a picture, there's like this iconic picture of the galaxy, from like the top down view. You must have seen that picture before. There's a picture on this article that actually points where the sun is, in the grand scheme of it. And our location is basically mid-rim. it's like the center disk, more towards the outer layers, but still sort of middle. And we're also at like one of the edges of one of the arms. From the point of view of the picture, it's really clear that it's like, yeah, the spiral galaxy has arms going on in it. The reason why is a long, complex story to discuss. But the simple truth is, like, the Milky Way galaxy has these spiral arms in its, creation, if you will. And the sun sits pretty comfortably in the sort of the outer middle areas. This is actually thought by astronomers to be probably one of the contributing factors as to why the sun, and in particular the Earth, has been able to host life. I say the sun hosts life, but it's more like the sun be a star that can shine light on top of life, if you will. Because basically when you're towards the sort of center of a galaxy, especially near the black hole, weird shenanigans happen, first of all, and then everything gets obliterated by the black hole itself. It just sucks in the star, which has already been ravaged by just being in incredible close proximity to other stars, just devastating to like normal living, and then it's destroyed. One of the freakier things that happens there, by the way, is this is a tangent, I know, but one of the freakier things that happens there is actually a time dilation. To give you a reference as to how that works, though, as I said, it's a short tangent, is if you've ever watched the movie Interstellar, you know that there's a planet that at one point a person goes to a planet that is experiencing very, very extreme time dilation within there. Well, according to clever mathematicians, just to give you references like how crazy it can get, since the movie's been released in 2014, on the hypothetical planet that has been experiencing all this time dilation, only 53 minutes have passed. It's mad. It's madness. But on the opposite extreme, of course, the outer edges of the galaxy are not much better for life either. There's a scarcity of materials, because all of it's being drawn towards the middle of the galaxy, so why would there be anything on the outer edges? Furthermore, the stars which are on the sort of outer edges of the galaxy are really at risk of being flung out into the void. And honestly, it's like once a star is flung out into the void of the intergalactic space, then it was complicated, but basically the bottom line was it has a harder time sustaining life, or even sustaining a hypothetical planet with life. And that's of course assuming that the planet came up tagged along with the star as it was shot out of the galaxy, which is not a guarantee, or it can be shot out with it, but in such different trajectories and with such different forces that they separate. Yeah, not a cheerful fall. So the sun's actually located in a pretty good spot within the galaxy. So it seems, and according to our understanding of physics, to host and create life, which is nice because we're sitting here, being life, being alive. But then you might be asking, okay, but there was that intergalactic void. What's in that? Where are we within the intergalactic void? Well, I'm actually pretty glad you asked, because I've got an article here by NASA itself, and it's in a series called Imagine the Universe. I love NASA. I love the American National Aeronautics and Space Administration. both because they're a really good spot to get royalty-free pictures. As a government agency, their pictures are always royalty-free. But then also because of the fact that it's like they educate and inspire. The local group, by the way, according to them, is... Well, here's just read their article. The image of the local group, they've got an image of the local group, is a composite of multiple real images of the actual galaxies that are in the local group. The galaxies that have been placed there are more or less correctly, even if not quite to scale. The local group was first recognized by Edwin Hubble in the time of the first distance determinations and redshift measurements. One of the most prominent members of the local group, which is the collection of about 30 galaxies, now within a nearly 10 million light year area. The closest one and the most prominent one is the Andromeda Galaxy. In fact, the Andromeda Galaxy itself is so large that it has two satellite galaxies orbiting it like planets. Isn't that insane? And isn't that amazing? The fact that we know, so the Earth has got a moon which orbits it, and we also know that the Earth orbits a star. We know that the star orbits the center of the galaxy, this massive black hole. And now we know also that in the Andromeda Galaxy, and also the Milky Way Galaxy, by the way, that black hole is so large and can have such powerful gravitational effects that even other galaxies, small galaxies, orbit that like they were a moon. It's crazy, yet welcome to the universe, and welcome to figuring out where we are within it. We're, by the way, not the only ones. The Andromeda, by the way, is not the only one to have a, orbiting galaxies. We actually have a couple of ourselves. They're called the Magellan Clouds, and they're actually pretty visible from the southern hemisphere, which is incredible. Maybe, I wonder what they'll say about the first man or woman to go to the Magellan Clouds. One small step for man, or mankind. One giant leap into a new galaxy. Anyway, among our neighbours in the local group is also the Triangulum Galaxy, which is labelled as M33 in the NASA records. This is also alongside the galaxies of Leo 1 and NGC 6822. Why can't I read 6822? Whatever. As I mentioned earlier, there are over 30 galaxies that are considered to be within the local group, and they are spread over a diameter of nearly 10 million light years, with the center of them being somewhere between the Milky Way Galaxy and the M31 Galaxy. The M31 and the Milky Way, by the way, are also the most massive members of the local group, with M33, which being the third largest. Both M31, which is the Andromeda Galaxy, in case you don't remember, both have dwarf galaxies associated with them, and also, this is one of my favorite stories. I'm so glad that the next thing is listing it, which is that some astronomers speculated that one day the two large spirals in the Milky Way Galaxy and in the Andromeda Galaxy may actually collide and merge to form a giant elliptical galaxy. It is also possible that the local group may one day merge with the next nearest big galaxy cluster, which is called the Virgo group. Imagine that. imagine just every level of the wonder of just the universe we're in. You know, 2 galaxies coming together, billions of stars, tens of billions of planets, all going, yeah, let's smash into each other and create an even bigger one. And don't forget, of course, in the meantime, those also having groups of millions of stars orbiting the galaxy as a whole. Just the sheer scale of it. But also, really interesting to see where we are. So there we are. As I've already now said twice for some reason. If we... No, where we are is we are, or at least I am, in the Relaks radio studio, which is located in the city of London, which is located in the nation called, or the nation called England, which is part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is in the European continent, located on planet Earth. Planet Earth, meanwhile, is located in the solar system, or the sun, or the solar system. The solar system itself sits within the local fluff, alongside a few other, by the way, solar systems within the local fluff include the Sirius star and Alpha Centauri. Basically, all of the Alpha Centauri stars, they're actually a binary. Really interesting set of circumstances there. Meanwhile, the local fluff itself is located within the Orion arm, which is itself an offshoot of the Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way galaxy. And the Milky Way galaxy, meanwhile, is one of the 2 central galaxies, itself with orbiting galaxies all of its own, in the local group, which is 10 million light years across and covers over 30 galaxies in that span. And if you want to get even more general than even that, then I suppose the only thing I can say is the universe itself. There we go. The most accurate, detailed, precise explanation as to where we are you could possibly get in the universe as a whole. Amazing. But what do you think? Do you think that this is cool, or do you think that, say what? No, I already knew all of that. I know exactly where I am at all times, even on the galactic cluster level. If you are that person, 100% call the studio. The number is 07852 473 and 473. I'm going to repeat. For those at the back, the number is 07852 473 and 473. But in the meantime, some other people want to, one more time, have a chat. So I'll catch you all again very, very soon.
Whoa, Relaks Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. no one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Breakfast Buffet. My name is George Shaft, and we are almost out because, the time is 10:49, which is usually associated with us not being here at all. But even in the context of having started an hour later because of convenience and there's no one here, so who am I disturbing? Even in that context, though, we're almost at the end. Before I continue on, there is one thing I would like to mention from the last segment, which really caught my attention, and which I actually didn't know until I read it. But it wasn't exactly a precise part of the gimmick which I was going for. So let's go talk about that a bit more. So you remember when I was saying the local group, right? And we classify all of these galaxies, in this certain area as that. But you might be wondering why. Why do we actually classify, these galaxies as being the local group? And why aren't other galaxies, also considered a part of it? Well, there's actually a very hard limit. A very hard kind of ceiling that's preventing us from going further than that. And that's why we class them as such. According to NASA's article again, which I quoted last time on that, we can actually study individual objects, such as a star, in local group galaxies, even at distances as great as 2 million parsecs. Parsecs, by the way, is... I realized I should have typed that in before that. A parsec is a unit of length used to measure the distances to astronomical objects outside the solar system. 1 parsec is roughly equal to 31 trillion kilometers, or 19 trillion miles, and equates to about 3.3 light years. Massive itch suddenly in my head. There we go. Alright. Yeah, it can be done in as great a distance as 2 million parsecs. Which, remember, 1 parsec is 3.3 light years. So I think you can do the mathematics yourself. That's pretty far away. But even with the incredibly sharp vision of the Hubble Space Telescope, there's actually not that much that can be done beyond the local group itself. The main problem is the fact that there's actually just too many stars in the way. And, well, in fact, there's such a problem that, well, there's a lot of stuff in other galaxies, outside the local group. For example, it puts the hypothetical forward of, imagine a galaxy that is 5 parsecs away. So, that is well over the 10 million light years diameter away from us. Okay? You could use trigonometry to figure out that 0.1 arc second corresponds to 2.5 parsecs. An arc second, by the way, is also listed here somewhere, but I can't find it now. But it does. An arc second is a unit of angles. That's 1/3600th of a degree. So 0.1 arc second is 1 over 12,960,100,000 of a full circle. But even with a pixel that covers 2.5 by 2.5 arc seconds, which is the quote-unquote thickness of the galaxy, a picture of a galaxy that is 5 parsecs away will still contain several stars. Just let that sink in. When you take a photograph of a galaxy, more than 10 million light years away, one tiny pixel on the most advanced and most detailed cameras that humanity has ever created will still have multiple stars in it. That's insane. That's crazy. And yet that's the scenario we're in. The universe is a big place. We are in a galaxy with billions of stars, hundreds of millions of planets, itself being orbited by multiple small dwarf galaxies, itself, all of that, bound to collide with another galaxy of equal or even greater size, itself orbited by 2 more, and then all of that within the local group with 30 galaxies in it. And the only reason we call it a local group is because that's about the distance where we can actually point a telescope at that galaxy and go, okay, here is a particular star in that galaxy. And then there's more galaxies than we can count beyond that, even that. But no. The creator of the universe, he made you in particular, because he has a plan for you in particular. We really are in many ways, we really are quite a childish species, aren't we? We really are sort of a small, insignificant little speck hurtling through space. I go on with more sort of hashtag I'm 14 years old and this is deep stuff. But astronomy does boggle my mind. I love it very much. It's one of my favorite subjects. Do you think I should talk more about astronomy? If you think so, and I'd certainly love to, you can either call the studio at the number 07852 473 473. But unfortunately, you won't catch me if you do that. So you'd have to go for the other choice. That would be to comment on either the Facebook live stream, or on the YouTube live stream, or on the Twitch stream, or even the Periscope. And because unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for the phone call. But don't worry, some other people will be more than happy to, give you the chat that you need. And in the meantime, and in between time, have a good day. See you later.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio.